Alrighty, listeners, it's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blandford.
I'm hungover.
And I'm Sean Kelly. And we wish it was the 90s. First of all, Sam, that's your best intro so far. Secondly,
Yeah.
how you doing, hungover?
Yeah, a little rough.
Yeah.
I've got a cuppa here with me. So
Well, I've got great news for you because your continued rhetoric throughout the first season was that obviously Bryan Singer only watched the animated show and never read a comic. And listening to X-Men, the animated series podcast, and listening to them interview a couple of the writers from the show, Julie and Eric Lewald, they pretty much confirmed that. Like, that's actually what he did.
He might have even said that, though, didn't he?
Maybe. But I thought maybe he was just jibing us. That's a weird run. Because he also banned comic books from the set because he didn't want the actors to follow the comic book characterization.
Really?
Interesting. Yeah.
That's absolute madness.
That's like the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire director. His portrayal of Albus Dumbledore. Well, Michael Gambon's portrayal with the help of the director. It's just disgraceful.
Oh, is that whole thing about how in the book he like whispers to Harry, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" And in the movie he like throttles him. "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?"
Yeah, I think it says Dumbledore asked Harry calmly.
Well, look, I don't want to dive too deep on it, but the Goblet of Fire is where I started having issues with Harry Potter.
Interesting.
My Dumbledore. Maybe don't run a life-threatening tournament for your students.
Yeah,
he's got a bit of a Professor X about him, eh?
Good segue, Pat.
Yeah, well played.
See what I did there? Anyway, we're waking up in President Kelly's world.
On this episode today, we've got Til Death Do Us part 1 and part 2. Then we've got...
I like how they actually drop the part and they just have it Death Do Us part 1 and 2 rather than part
I didn't even notice, but I thought about how it's a bit of a nightmare to say. Whatever it takes. Red Dawn, Repo Man.
Oh yeah, baby.
And X-Ternally Yours.
Meg's biggest fan will be reveling in Repo Man. We might just let him take the floor, eh? Let's let him do Repo Man.
Sam, do you whip Repo Man?
Yeah, I that was probably my favourite episode.
I thought it was probably my favourite episode out of these ones as well.
Yeah, sorry, out of the 6. Although I did enjoy the first 2.
Same.
I didn't enjoy the first 2.
You didn't?
No, sorry, I did. And the other ones,
you did.
I was real confused with the other ones.
After watching Repo Man, that's the one with Alpha Flight, right?
Yeah. You were. I think you sent us a message like you were struggling to get through it, and I was like, "Oh, damn, is it going to be a real rubbish episode?" And then I watched it.
I feel like we're the Alpha Flight of podcasting.
Who's the little guy with the funny voice?
Lucky.
Who Puck?
The human hockey puck.
I'm the smallest of us, so I'll have to be Puck. All right, should we get stuck in then?
Absolutely.
So, Til Death Do Us part 1.
Fuck off, One Eye and Jean.
Well, they're not in episode part 1 that much.
Yeah, they start off in it.
Yeah. Well, Scott's walking around some random place. Wolverine in a tux going after him. Flashes to a church, and we see it's the actual wedding of Scott and Jean. So Wolverine's venting his rage at the wedding by killing multiple robot Cyclopses in the danger room. I got a lot of time for the Cyclops Sentinel edition. Think that's a nice touch from the danger room.
It was also
Cyclops,
like this being the first episode of the season, like Meg's come back just as insane as ever, wanting to basically kill Cyclops on the day of his wedding. And he also looks like he's dressed as a member of the bridal party.
Yeah, he's got the matching tie, eh?
Yeah, he got the call up for the bridal party, even though he's still trying to bone Jean.
That wedding attire is disgraceful. That horrific lilac Especially on the woman, looks so bad.
I wonder if Gambit pushed it. He loves those shades of purple.
Why they put here Gambit equals creep?
Yeah, that's a bit that comes shortly.
Yeah, that'll be the kissing thing, won't it?
Well, yeah, it's pretty much. He says, "Where I come from, we always kiss the bride," and he gives Jean a kiss on the cheek. Nice, like, that's right. Then he fixes his tie. We always kiss the bridesmaids too. And Rogue's like, "This ain't Cajun country, hun. Zip those lips." And then I've just got a note saying, I really like. I don't know if I like it, but I've got a lot of time for Gambit's 90s pony.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Also, nice of him to take off his sock for the wedding.
Yeah.
And then I've gone, something seems dodgy about this priest. And then I've gone, morph. And then evil morph. And I love the distinction between your morphs is basically there's normal morph who kind of looks like Morph did in episode 1. And then there's evil morph who's got incredible, terrible bags, kind of like Pat right now.
Yeah, he looks sick. I'm basically evil morph today. But yeah, I had the same thing. Evil morph equals eye bags.
I think I think they do a really good job with the animation of evil morph.
He looks
he's
really
hard to look at.
He looks completely mad.
Yeah,
he is.
And then it cuts to President Kelly's. I mean, it seems like his inauguration, but also seems like it's in like a press room.
Yeah, it was a bit confusing.
But then I've written here, some guy dressed as a mutant, ? Which it is. We find out later.
Oh, you see him putting it on beforehand.
Yeah.
But
maybe he was just already a mutant and he wanted to look more mutant-y.
Yeah, he was a bit of a saber-tooth sort of takeoff.
Yeah.
It's like one of those real cheap costumes that can't be the actual character. They're always called something else.
The ones you get
Wizard
from Pete's
Boy
Emporium.
or something if you're trying to be Wizard Boy for Harry Potter. And it's like Saber Wolf.
Spider Lad.
Yeah.
And then before the guy interrupts the is this at Beast pardoning? I don't know, but it's back to the wedding.
This is that press conference and the B grade Sabretooth comes raging in to cause a massive scene.
Yeah.
But isn't Senator Kelly's first act to pardon Beast? Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
I said Beast quoting Romeo and Juliet after catching the bouquet at the wedding, and then it cuts to President Kelly pardoning Beast for his obvious crimes. and then you kind of work out, this guy Graydon Creed is staging a classic stitch up. Graydon Creed's from the comics. We'll talk about him later because his backstory gets. We find out more about him later on, so I don't want to talk too much about who he is now. But shit, he hates mutants.
He does that classic comedy gag when he's in the crowd as well, when he like yells out in a different voice. It's like when like someone's yelling from the crowd. It's like, you were elected to protect us from mutants. Like he puts on a different voice, pretending to be someone yelling out from the crowd. I found that really funny.
That's good. That's good from Graydon. And I've just written here, Meg probably should have made it to the wedding, and then Jean pops in to make him feel bad. And then we get the scene.
Him there, though. She teases him there.
You reckon she's maybe, yeah. Not good from her.
Meg.
Do you feel sorry for Meg?
Yeah.
Mate,
he's got
21st century, you can't say that. Meg needs to know what's up. Just because she dresses a certain way, Sam. Then we switch to Morph, and he's having all sorts of nightmares. Why did they abandon me? And it sort of alludes to like maybe there's some mind control or something. Just sort of highlighting that he's having a bit of turmoil. It's not so clear cut on his evildom. And then cuts to the streets, and we get to see a real hairy mutant copping the no more mutants treatment.
It's a real bizarre assault from the what are they, Friends of Humanity guys, yelling that no more mutants and stuff. Like, the scene's bizarre. Like, if anyone told them, it would sound fake. Like, it's just sounds like the Jesse Smollett yarn that he spun when he got attacked. It's like, what do you mean? They yelled no more mutants at you. Doesn't sound like something that would happen.
Was this the first introduction to the Friends of Humanity that we've had?
I believe so.
Because I just saw these people running around with FOH pretending to be police officers, and it just like harkened back to when Homer creates that spring shield to to take care of Springfield. Don't they run around with like doorknobs in sacks?
Oh,
Good. The Friends of Humanity are weird because they kind of look quite militant, if anything.
Like Springfield.
Very much like Spring Shield. And then it cuts to a chat in the war room, and Kelly's followers feel betrayed. Scapegoats. There's a bit of chat from Professor X and the team. And then Storm says, "It is an evil in men's hearts that must be stopped." I was like, yeah, Storm's bang on here. There's no females in the Friends of Humanity. It's just a bunch of angry white dudes, mainly.
A lot of them overweight by the look of one of the meetings. Bunch of overweight guys.
And yet the X-Men are still called X-Men, despite the fact there are clearly women in them.
Don't worry about it. Jennifer Lawrence brings it up in X-Men Dark Phoenix.
I won't watch that.
No, don't. It's awful.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Honestly, the first 15 minutes are pretty good.
Is that them trying to be woke?
That's them in space being mint. It's like, oh, mint, finally the X-Men are going to space. And then the rest of the movie's shit.
I thought you meant like when you saw it in the cinemas the first time, like the first 15 minutes,
We
which is
didn't-
like trailers for other movies.
No, we didn't see it in the cinemas. Me and you, did we watch it together?
Yeah, I think we waited a long time because
If we didn't watch it together, we did one of those watch it at the same times and text each other things.
Yeah, it was probably that.
The audience is riveted.
Yeah, the audience do that. It's good. Prof X gets a call on his private video line, and it's Magneto's cry for help, and gives Antarctica coordinates. And interesting that we find out that it was Morph, and Morph has access to the private line. And B, just what a great little stage he's set up in his little apartment there to have the flames behind him, and it's just a big, huge screen. Very, very well thought out manipulation from Morph. And then we get a lovely little local bar scene.
Good guy bar is what I wrote down. Contrast from last week.
And as per what we expect, Gambit's wearing his X-Men kit. And then we find out Beast is famous, and then there's a blast at the bar door, and oh boy, the Friends of Humanity are back. And then we have a little bit of a street ruckus.
Let's take these sardines out of a can.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And then Beast goes, "A colourful metaphor, Wolverine. I'm blue-green with envy."
Beast rules.
Yeah, Beast does rule.
I want some episodes with Meg and Beast, like on a side mission.
With their matching haircuts.
Yeah. I'd revel in that.
Or their own show. Just them two. Like being detectives or something.
Without Cyclops.
But Beast being the sensible, but believe it or not, the Stallone to Wolverine's, what's his name? Kurt Russell.
You've lost me.
What's that, Pat? You know the movies. Big Time and
Big Time Little China or something? What's
that'll
it
do. That'll work.
I'm pretty sure that's not it. But the words
No, it
big and
sounds
little
like it,
are in
though.
the title. And
Yeah.
I might have mixed up the other words.
And
but those three
Stallone's
words.
supposed to play a square, even though he's still Rocky jacked. Yeah. Anyway, so after their thing and they're getting recorded and it's a stitch up, we're back in the old war room and Professor X, he's got to go. He's got personal business.
Good leader.
Storm in charge because Cyclops is on his honeymoon, which is a nice, I think, in the 80s, Cyclops led the X-Men pretty much like the field commander or whatever from the 60s. And then Storm took over when he left, basically. And so that's a nice touch to see her in charge, you know. And I've got a quote here. I don't remember why I wrote it down, but it said, it's Wolverine, it's Meg. Climates are your department, Storm. Unmasking are mine. He's off to...
Then he takes off, eh?
Yeah, of course he does. It's what he does.
He's mint.
And then we get Morph infiltrating the mansion. And I've just written here, Gambit. So easy to manipulate. To be fair, if there's one thing that's easy to manipulate, it's a horny man.
This sort of section was definitely questioning the fact that it was a children's show. I don't know if it was.
In that podcast I listened to, they talked heaps about how they wanted to write something that was like for adults, but was also for kids. This is clearly where they got a little bit went too far. Morph turns into Storm and tricks Jubilee, and then when Jubilee runs off to go and find some mutants who need help or something because of the Friends of Humanity or whatever, he's just like, that's for thinking you could take my place.
He's real jealous of Jubilee. I found that quite funny as well.
Yeah. And he plays Gambit with, seducing him as Rogue. And then when he goes up and Rogue's sleeping, he's like, maybe I'll wake you up with a kiss.
That was
kiss a sleeping girl.
That was, I was very shifting in my seat uncomfortably at that point.
Yep.
My wife walked in at that point. What are you watching?
Yeah. Geez. Was a simpler time. Doesn't make it a better time.
He suffers for it, though.
Eh?
He suffers for it.
Yeah. You get the feeling Gambit's up for that. He's just mind.
Yeah. He's it's fun. Give it a chance, man.
Yeah. Morph tricks. What's interesting about that is Gambit clearly has heaps of skeletons in his closet. Sometimes Rogue gets memories as well as powers or whatever. It's a huge gamble from him if he's got heaps of skeletons.
Yeah, true. I didn't think about that.
Remember, he definitely didn't want to go back in that Cerebro. He didn't. He said, "Don't go back too far." Yeah,
exactly.
Final.
We kind of find out more later, but what we find out is fucking deranged. I
liked it. I like that one anyway.
You can talk about that one. I'll be quiet.
Sweet.
Morph tricks Storm and Rogue to go to the disturbance, and gives Beast a hell of a workout in the danger room. And I like how you get a shot of turns the danger room onto high.
Yeah,
whatever
so
that means.
A question I had here and then came up again later, but it was answered later. You can die in the war room or the danger room.
I had the exact same question. Yeah, and then
I would assume so. Like
comes through.
Some of those things are shooting lasers, right?
Seems like a flaw.
There's robots in there. They could break your face.
Later on, when it happens again, I can't remember who's in there, But Rogue's like, oh, I think Cyclops is in there, and he's taking on like all these bosses.
Gambit has a buzz.
Yeah, and Rogue's like, he could die in there, and I was like, okay, that answers my question.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's some high intensity training.
Oh yeah.
The X-Men High Performance Center. Right. So where are we? So Storm and Rogue go to help the mutant community center, and then someone yells out, "Get the mutants!" And then Storm summons some rain by saying, "I summon torrential rain."
In case you didn't know.
Yeah. Morph takes the shape of a police captain and orders Storm shot down. And then you get to see her getting taken off in an ambulance. So that's, fairly consequential.
Are the cops' guns lasers?
Oh, so very much of the time.
Very high tech.
No guns in cartoons.
Yeah, so that's same as like why they bring in androids and stuff like that.
If the guns shoot lasers, because that's not real, it's okay.
All right.
Yeah, and and I've just, where are we? Here we get this sort of final scene, and I just want to say, Mr. Sinister looks fucking grouse in the final scene.
He is badass.
His overall plan appears to be divide and conquer.
I like his sort of like sharp kitten-like teeth.
Yeah,
he's a massive man.
Again, this is a kids show. He looks so scary.
Yeah, he is pretty scary.
Yeah, he's got this like Dracula vibe. Like, 'cause he's got the white skin, he's got the fangs, he's got this massive cape. He is, and he's got a scary voice.
He, I got to say, X-Men do a fantastic job of all their villains. There's not one villain that I have not enjoyed or just thought was really awesome.
I suppose you're talking about the major villains, right? Like your Magnetos, your Apocalypses, your Sinisters, because you've also got your President Kelly, Sabretooth's mint. Even your our mates who drink at Bad Guy Bar are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm still hanging out for that spin-off with Pyro and Avalanche.
Yeah.
Pyro the Brit.
We're not sure.
The Australian Brit. He's been in Clapham too long.
Yeah, extended OE.
What are they been at the walkabouts?
And that ends part 1. I feel like we should probably just dive straight into part 2, and then we can summarize the whole thing. So we get Scott and Jean on their honeymoon with a boat and an island. It's a nice honeymoon.
Scott. That pissed me off.
Yeah, it would have. I was thinking most of these honeymoon scenes, I was enjoying them, just going, he's going to be livid with this.
We're finally alone.
He can sail, though. It's a talent we didn't know he had.
He can't fight.
They set him up pretty nicely as like he is. Like, despite the fact that we find out later about how he was raised and stuff like that, he certainly comes across as a prep school boy.
Oh, yeah.
We hate him.
Yeah, where do you reckon the money's coming from? Is it his money or is Professor X?
That's definitely coming out of the Professor X fund.
The floaty chair business.
Do you reckon he pays them?
He must do. How'd they pay for that yacht that they were on?
Yeah.
Cyclops is like the deputy principal that hoards all the units.
That's hitting, with our 5 listeners, that's hitting about 0.5% of our teacher cohort. Cyclops is getting a danger room unit.
He's real bad at it.
No one can do it. Anyway, nice. Beast outthinking the danger room is clutch. I think that shows his intellect. because it's on high, as we talked about, and he manages to turn it against itself so he can get out of there. And then we get a look at Morph being really conflicted, and I've written here Sinister has done some good conditioning.
So is his name Sinister?
Mr. Sinister. Do you want to know his real name?
No, well, he said my name's Sinister, Mr. Sinister. I was like, just leave Mr. out of it. Sinister's real cool.
His real name is Nathaniel Essex.
Well, that's why he's changed it to Sinister.
So yeah. I've got in my notes here, evil morph bags, good morph, normal eyes, and then I've just written, oh, Scott. And then I've written down some notes on Sinister's crew, known as the Nasty Boys.
They're great.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these characters, but like I really enjoyed his crew. It was awesome.
In the comics, some of them cross over to his Marauders, who what his crew's called sometimes. I've got pink hair guy, shouty powers, big guy, strong powers, purple guy, stretchy powers. That's all. I think that's all they got covered in that scene.
Yeah, I think the funky pink hair man was my favorite. Great. He's the one that jumps around the rocks and gets them off the boat.
It kind of looks like a distorted version of Gambit.
What about like their sort of beast type guy? That's like the bald guy. That's absolutely stacked, but he's got like really lovely long eyelashes, just some beautiful eyes on him. Just to really mix it up.
I've got I've written here my name is Sinister, Mr. Sinister, if you insist, Nathaniel. And when it cuts to a scene of Beast and Rogue sneaking in to check on Storm,
Beast wearing an overcoat and a Tom Landry hat to disguise himself. Yeah, that'll do the trick. You blue Beast.
That's him fitting in. Like, I've got a trench coat. No, I look fine here. I'm the size of like 3 men, but no one's going to notice me.
And Beast reads the medical notes, and Storm should recover with time. And then we cut to the Friends of Humanity, and the crowd is just shouting, "Leader, leader, leader," in honor of Graydon Creed, who brings Jubilee out as their mutant prisoner. It's just very, very deranged. Like, are they about to execute it?
Possibly. And she's like, she doesn't seem that worried. Like, she just starts mugging them off. She's just like, you call this pack of sickos normal? Like in front of all of them. And they're just like absolutely livid.
She also says, "What did we ever do to you?" And Graydon Creed says, "You were born."
Yeah, I love that.
That was a good line. Yeah, just to show how evil he is.
And then I think we learn Jubilee needs her hands unshackled to be able to use her sparkly powers.
Yeah, you'd think just a little flick of the wrist or something, but it must be a bit more involved.
Yeah, I kind of just thought they'd shoot out, but anyway, maybe she
like a Roman candle.
Yeah, maybe not enough time in the danger room.
I suppose she's only just got to X school, so maybe she just hasn't honed her powers.
I don't know. Like the timeline of this show is pretty hard to keep up with, because later on, when she takes off in the jet, she talks about how she's logged X amount of hours of training time in the simulator for flying.
Okay.
I can't remember how much it is, but it seemed more than I would have expected at the time. Meg gate crashes the Friends of Humanity party and cuts Jubilee free, and they escape, and she says something, and he says, "If you knew how much bubblegum I had to sniff to find you."
Smell powers.
I was ready to jump in. Smelling powers.
He sniffs so much bubblegum.
His smelling powers are the real hero of the show so far.
They come in handy so often. Like, having a strong sense of smell in this world seems to be like the best superpower you could have. It solves 90% of the cases, because most of it's tracking people.
And we're back at the mansion, and we're still with Morph, right?
Yeah.
But they're talking about what happened, and Gambit says, Gambit don't never go where he's not invited. I'm like, mate, she was asleep.
Oh no.
And
he
then
knows that he's in cover-up mode at that point, I think.
Yeah. And then
He does think he's been invited, to be fair.
He does. He was seduced.
Not that it's okay.
No, it's not. But he thought it was on.
How's he to know Morph was there?
Yeah. Professor X has thrown them off. And then it's Morph. Smell powers.
Yep, comes to the fore again.
And then they're all like, what's going on? And Gambit never heard a professor say that before.
Shit, you're ripping up the what do you call them?
The Gambit quotes.
No, you're putting on all the voices. The accents.
Sorry, Pat.
Pat's our accent man. What's going on?
I'm several panheads deep now. That's a little plug, Panhead, if you're keen to pick us up.
We'll leave you Sabretooth, Pat. I know Sabretooth pops into the episodes in a few.
I'm never doing that voice again.
Alice messaged me this morning and said, Pat's so hung, he sounds like that big cat-like guy from X-Men.
Is she talking about Meg or Sabretooth?
Definitely Sabretooth. You were growling in your sleep.
I know how many, like, at the time that I listened back on this, I wonder how many times I've heard that roar over the top of this conversation. I can't regret that. We get Morph not being able to operate the floaty chair. That's what we were out to, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, I just wrote here, Gambit throwing a dummy card to get Morph to break character is surprisingly clever.
New.
And then Morph and Wolverine are having an argument, and it turns into a scrap, and he turns into Wolverine, and Jubilee interferes, and I'm like, Jubilee, just let Meg win this fight. You know, like Wolverine would kick Morph's ass. You don't need to interfere.
She says that I've got to shoot one of them, and it's like you're going to fuck this up, Jubilee.
But maybe that's why Morph sees her as the replacement. Like, she's stepping in for fights that Wolverine's more than capable of handling himself and putting herself in danger, and then she's just going to come back for revenge as well. Cycle repeats.
I
was just thinking about how Gambit throws the card like next to him to check if it's Professor X. So do you reckon there was like a little bit of him going, could still be the Professor? I'm going to do this anyway. And throw it next to him. If he'd like fallen out of the chair, would he be like, fuck. I thought you might have been a shapeshifter. He had to explain himself. And
I'm sorry, Professor.
He's just tried to talk himself out of one mess, got himself into another.
I've written here, when the jet takes off and Morph's in it and Wolverine's chasing after it and he just swipes at the jet. What are you trying to achieve here?
He's so aggressive.
Look, don't ever go at Meg, all right?
Yeah, sorry. And then I've just written here, what are his powers? I'm not sure who I'm asking you about here. Maybe Morph?
Maybe Sinister?
Oh, maybe Sinister.
Oh, I've got that here. What are Sinister's powers?
Oh, there you go. What are his powers?
I also just have Sinister. Creepy.
Yeah, very.
Just when he's walking around with that like living hose thing with teeth, it looks like it's bleeding.
That's creepy, eh?
It's pretty full on for a kid show. I was quite scared.
But
watching
tentacly.
A 35-year-old man.
Do we have the Meg quote yet?
What one?
Did anyone ever tell you You never kick a man when he's down. Hairbag.
Oh, that's coming.
I just had the question about Sinister's powers after the hairbag scene.
All right, yeah. Jubilee goes to visit Storm and has a heart-to-heart about Morph, which is a bit weird because she's the only one on the team who doesn't know him. But anyway, it's fine. Morph turns up at the island looking for Scott and Jean, and he says, "I now pronounce you betrayer and betrayess."
Oh, I wondered what he said.
Yeah,
I thought he had made up a word. I thought it was betray us.
he has. Betrayess isn't a word. Certainly, my Google Doc of notes is underlining that one as something that needs to be checked on the spell check. Yeah, I just noticed there's so much use of the word destroy instead of kill. Destroy them!
It's definitely worse as well.
Yeah.
The serial
So we
destroyer.
find out that Sinister healed Morph, then put a really weird, gross bug thing in his head.
Like sinks into his temple.
Real Matrixy.
Looked like a little green bug.
Yeah. Oh, it made me uncomfortable.
I'm quite sure
And then
what
I've
it was.
just written,
Yeah, it's yuck.
here comes Shouty Powers. And then there's Flat Top. Is he supposed to be Jamaican or Caribbean or something?
That hairbag?
I don't know. I can picture his Flat Top. That's all.
That's definitely hairbag. He's got hair all over his body.
Apologies.
Let's just call him
then
hairbag. I like flat top and hairbag, to be fair.
And then we get to see Burpee Powers. And then Gambit says, so obviously the X-Men have arrived to try and help save Scott and Jean and get more from whatever's going on. Gambit likes to play hard to get. Yes, he does.
Does he?
And
though?
then Pete
Seems pretty up for it most of the time.
yeah. Beast quotes Tennyson, more for the literary fans of the show. And I've written here, Sinister has blasty powers and healy powers.
Yeah, that's what I picked up. He could definitely heal himself.
Yeah, I feel like quite a lot of the villains, at least, can just blast stuff out of their fists. We've seen it from Apocalypse and Sinister, who, I don't know if it comes up in the show or not, but certainly comic book historically, Mr. Sinister is not even a mutant. He gets his powers from Apocalypse in like the 19th century.
Isn't Sinister just standing outside the cave with his like hands over his head, just like shooting lasers?
Yes. Big yellow lasers. And so there's a big scrap.
No music. Did you notice? In this, I think in the
Interesting, eh?
whole 6 episodes, whenever there was a fight scene, I didn't hear the famous theme.
Good catch.
It's so you could hear Cyclops shout at Sinister, "Just stay away from my friends!"
And he like pauses. I think it's like they deliberately make him seem like an absolute battler. He's like, well, keep away from my friends. It's like, this guy can't even make a good speech as a leader.
This is also all his fault, which, as a Cyclops fan, I've noticed that you've really skipped over throughout your synopsis.
So he left Morph behind.
Yeah, they all seem to agree. Beast definitely thinks it's his fault.
Shut the hell up. It was for the best of the team. I think what's interesting is we get this thing about Sinister being obsessed with Scott and Jean, and that's definitely straight from the comic books. I think this is more for you, Sam. We touched on Cable's origin when I talked about how he's the son of Cyclops and a clone of Jean Grey. In the comic books, Sinister made that clone because he was certain that the offspring of Cyclops and Jean would produce a mutant that would be of amazing power, and he wanted to make it happen so he could control that mutant to his own whatever machinations.
You would have thought that he would have waited for after the honeymoon and then step in and steal the
Yeah,
child. But
yeah, felt like it was coming.
yeah,
Scott,
it's going that way.
Jean.
It makes sense apart from Jean is obviously amazing with her powers, but One Eye is just a battler.
Although it
Yeah,
seemed
although-
like his blast was the only thing that Sinister couldn't heal from.
Yeah,
What's going on there?
that's a comic
Why
book
was
thing
that?
as well,
Oh, okay.
which doesn't make sense either.
Yeah,
Because Scott's blasts are concussive. They're not like laser or heat. They're just an incredible force.
They're set to stun.
But that's the same thing in the comic books. There's a great rivalry between Sinister and Cyclops, and we learn more about it later in a Cyclops-focused episode that you guys will hate.
I will.
I'll be enjoying knowing how much you're hating all of it while I watch it.
But so yeah, Cyclops manages to hurt him quite a lot. He almost blasts away half of his guts. And Sinister and the Nasty Boys take off. Morph also takes off. He's struggling with whatever's going on with him. And then it turns out Sinister set up Magneto and Professor X in Antarctica. And it's some sort of trap.
He's trapped the old boys.
Trap the old boys. So any thoughts on that opening double header?
I think like just the end of that second one answered a question I had written right at the start of the first one, was about because Morph had posed as the minister, had he also gone and got ordained as a minister just as part of his ruse as well? So he had really planned it out, which I was hoping for, but it turns out he had just tricked them and they weren't actually married, and they seem really gutted and talking about how they have to have another wedding. No, you've already done the wedding. You just go to the courthouse and sign a marriage certificate. Unless they're trying to fleece the professor to give them another wedding, because he would have bankrolled that with his floaty chair business.
So this episode came out in 93, and the official Marvel Comics wedding of Scott and Jean doesn't happen until 94.
Wow.
So this predates it.
Interesting.
And maybe this is why I love Scott. But their first dance was to U2.
I hate him even more.
This is going to be the best divide of anyone watching this show, is people that whip Cyclops, that minority there, and then everyone else that hates him.
Yeah, they'll be with me. I feel like it was a great start to season 2. And I feel like with the next couple of episodes, I haven't got many notes written down. I'm very, not confused. I just feel like they're quite easy to whip through.
Yeah. I feel like the next, what, do we cover 4 episodes?
Yeah, whatever it takes. Wow, we could do 2 hours on Repo Man. But
and we should do a special on Repo Man.
Red Dawn and whatever it takes. I struggled through those 2.
We'll get through it quick. It does feel like they're a little bit of filler, but they do also give backstory, right? Like,
I did revel in the fact that they were backstory, which is what I kind of asked for at the end of season 1. Was I wanted more backstory. I just wanted better backstory.
Fair enough.
Like there actually wasn't that much backstory around Storm and whatever it takes. We'll get to it.
Well, we're on to it.
Yeah,
have you got any thoughts on those first 2, Paddy?
Yeah. So Morph now, at least most of the time, while he's got big sandbags around his eyes, hates the X-Men, but he's still sporting their kit.
Mm-hmm.
Would have thought he might have thrown away the logo and stuff like that, or maybe it's a taunt.
Maybe that's just all he's got. Well, actually, he's got whatever he wants because he can morph into anything.
If he's naked and he morphs into Wolverine, does he become naked Wolverine?
I think he can do the clothes though as well.
I think he can do the clothes.
He's potentially always naked, but he just looks like he's clothed.
Does he need to have the clothes on to therefore have the clothes for the person that he's morphing into.
I don't think so.
No, I think the clothes are also his skin or whatever he's made of.
Certainly not how Mystique works. I think he just do whatever he wants.
All right. Morph's got good powers.
Yeah.
He does. He's a good character. I like him.
Will we see him again? Maybe.
Says the man who clearly knows the answer to the question.
Whatever it takes. Lovely opening at Mount Kilimanjaro. And we get a look at what appears to be some sort of speedster. And the mountain is blowing apart, and only the speedster can see it. I assume because of his speed-like eyes. I don't know. And then Jean Grey, in the war room or whatever, picks up on this weird thing going on in Africa. Storm returns from hospital in the same scene. And they talk about how there's a tearing in the psychic/astral plane. Maybe it's Bishop's fault. Maybe he traveled through time. And then Storm mentions Minari. Or we get to meet Minari. I can't remember exactly. He's the speedster. And he gets possessed by the Shadow King. Great. X-Men villain, predominantly linked to Storm and Professor X. Heaps of Professor X's son, Legion, who's, I don't think he comes up in this. So we get a cut, and then we find out whether this is all going on, and he's possessed, blah blah. It cuts to the upper Amazon, Brazil, as described by the subtitle. And Wolverine is searching for Morph.
That's right, because he took off at the end of the last episode. Like, I've got to go find him. He's the only one that can make me laugh.
And I love the boat captain's just mugging Wolverine off. And then I've got a question about his accent. Is he also Australian?
Yeah, I've picked that up too. I think he's lots of different accents.
I think they were trying to do a South African sort of accent, but I don't think it sort of landed. He was quite funny though, that guy on the boat. Also sort of showed how much the hatred for mutants had stretched throughout the world, even into the wilderness, with that guy on his boats mugging off mutants.
Wolverine ditches the boat because of his smell powers.
They come to every episode.
And then it cuts to Dodoma in Tanzania. And we just get a great shot of a couple of flying gals, Storm and Rogue, flying about the town. And then we find out Minari is Storm's son. And I was like, is this canon? Is this a thing?
I also missed that when I was watching this, like, first time around. And then at the end, I realized that it was. And I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. So I was watching the episode going, this makes no sense. I don't know why she's so into saving this kid. So it's your son. Oh, okay.
So Rogue basically just up sticks and went to live with some bald bastard and left her kid.
Storm, you mean?
Storm, what did I say?
Rogue.
Yeah, Storm, sorry.
Well, we find out later on, at least, that it's not her actual biological son. She saved the mother, and while the mother was still
Okay,
I definitely missed that.
Yeah,
I was not paying attention.
Yeah. Right,
yeah. So while the
to be fair, it seems like about a 3-minute flight in whatever their X jet is. So maybe it just doesn't matter that she's that far away. Maybe she's
so the character Minari is actually an elder of this tribe in the comic books, who the son gets named after. And this character only has one ever appearance in the X-Men. It's in 1985.
Weird.
Dies in the same issue. It's a real deep dive.
I've got missionary. I thought it was missionary.
I think it's spelled Mjnari. Mishnari?
Wow.
Mishnari?
Visionary, yeah. I think I mentioned Rogue before because when they're doing that, they're flying together. Actually, this whole episode, I think their relationship's really nice. The Rogue Storm relationship.
Yeah, it's cool.
They're a good duo.
They do a good job.
Any
So-
pairing that doesn't involve Cyclops is pretty good.
Definitely.
I missed that. It sounded like something stupid.
How do we end up on the cutting room floor?
So the Shadow King has deliberately tried to draw Storm back. And then it cuts to Wolverine finding Morph running a bar.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's great. Another bar.
Yeah, mutants love bars. Good or
They
bad.
do.
Mo Morph.
And if you're a little bit in the middle, run a bar.
Yeah.
And then they have a little bit of an altercation, and then Morph turns into Jean and it just absolutely wrecks Wolverine. I'm like, you've got to do better than this. You know it's not Jean. It's a weird fall apart from you.
It's like
You
when
need to trust his nose a bit more there.
it's like when Rogue sees Mystique turn into her mother and then saves her.
Yeah, it is like that.
Mm.
Like, geez. And then we're back to Africa, and Shani is Mizhnara's birth mother, and Storm performs CPR to save the baby's life, and that's how this connection exists. And we get this idea. Storm obviously knows the Shadow King, and they talk about how Professor X could barely handle the Shadow King. And then Storm agrees to allow the Shadow King to take over her body to save the boy. And then we get this backstory about how he wants Storm's body so that he can make everyone in the town or whatever do whatever he wants. And I'm like, so he just wants to be a mob boss. No real major villainous points. He's just keen to be in charge of things. And I guess this must be, where does this quote come from? It just says, "You should see me in the line at the post office." I don't remember who says it, but I thought it was good.
I don't remember that.
Nah, someone being
Although
impatient.
I did not pay a lot of attention in this episode, obviously.
And then
I kind of glanced through it until you get to sort of that end fight scene, which was pretty good. But
we're almost through it,
I
and that'd be great because once we get through this episode, we can have our intermission.
Great.
So I'm going to pee myself. Wolverine and Morph having an altercation in some sort of cave or something, and he morphs into Deadpool, Omega Red, and Maverick, all Wolverine-related characters. And then he turns into a panther, and then Sabretooth.
Nah, a rhino, and then
There is a rhino, and then there's this amazing
Hit
shot.
it, Pat! Hit it, Pat! Sabretooth.
Rawr.
And then there's this great shot of Wolverine with his fist up to Morph Sabretooth's face, and he's got two claws running up each side of his face, and the middle
that's
claw unpopped. That's from the first comic book I ever read.
Wow.
It's a
Oh,
Wolverine issue from like 93 or something like that, and it's a big Wolverine Sabretooth battle throughout, and that's how it finishes with that amazing shot.
When I watched that, I was like, why is it not killing him?
Yeah, why didn't he put that middle claw?
Yeah, no, I thought the middle claw was popped. And it was
You thought it was through him?
Yeah.
It'd be weird to kill Morph, although based on Wolverine's reaction so far, he thinks it's Sabretooth.
Yeah, he gets very confused by shapeshifters.
Mm. And then Morph runs off, and then we're back to Africa, and Storm's fighting back. She goes into space to kill the Shadow King, which I guess works. And then Mizhnari runs off because he has a plan to get the Shadow King back into the astral plane hole in the mountain.
Sorry, with this tear in the universe business, there's a lot of plot holes.
Oh, yeah. But in saying that, the astral plane looks mint.
What's the astral plane? The part that they go into.
Yeah, it's like this.
It just looks like space.
The astral plane is the psychic realm.
Okay.
and that'll do for explanation on the astral plane.
So one question I did have, sorry. So Rogue caught Storm when she was falling out of the sky. So Rogue, there's that why Rogue wears gloves. So if she didn't wear gloves, then she would have those
powers. Yeah, bang on.
Okay.
And they really wrecked that in the movies by giving her like fishnet gloves or like rubber. Just give her a cool costume.
Yeah.
Shadow King fell for the old chase me into the trap routine.
Shadow King's like the Pokemon Ghastly.
Yeah.
Or Haunter.
Yeah. Watch, Pat mentioned in an early episode, watch Legion. He's way more terrifying in that.
Yeah, he's very good. Played by a great Kiwi too.
So Shadow King disposed of, and we pop to Antarctica. Magneto and Charles are okay after the avalanche. We're in the savage land, baby. And Professor X's legs can work.
Yeah,
they've got no pattern.
Yeah, real confused.
Yeah.
I think there's this
right
concept.
Away, he's absolute athlete.
Yeah.
Bolting.
There's this idea that also translates to the movies where if Professor X doesn't have his powers, he can walk. Doesn't make sense, but it's something that happens a lot. They're both powerless. Someone sends attackers. Charles throws an excellent boomerang. Off the waterfall they go. And it's just another Savage Land cliffhanger.
All right, Red Dawn.
Yeah, Red Dawn. Full disclaimer, it's the 22nd. It's the 27th of February 2022. And I don't want to make any...
We've dated the podcast.
I don't want to make any political statements, but this is topical.
Very topical.
And that's all I'll say about that. So, so we start in the Savage Land.
Coming from someone who Googled what NATO was today, you might need to give us a little bit more historical context there, Sean.
Are you for real?
Someone asked me, and I thought I knew it, and it was quite far off what I thought it was.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization?
Yeah, you're right.
It's like the new League of Nations. It is. It's interesting. Like it's topical. It doesn't necessarily line up, but I mean, this episode has a Russian trying to reclaim former Soviet states,
and the Russians mint.
Yeah, another great villain.
Yeah, he's a great villain. So tentacly.
Yeah,
I don't understand how a lot of it works, but he looks great.
He's like real new as well. Like in the comic books at this time, like he hasn't been around for ages. You know, he probably
is this
Omega
the stinking octopus.
Yeah, the living weapon. But anyway, we start in the Savage Land, and Professor X saves Mags from the water, and then they have some really great philosophical yarns, which they're known for. And then there's a T-Rex.
Yeah, I just had WTF. Where are they?
Shall I explain the Savage Land now?
Yeah. Do they give a bit of an explainer? I think Magneto gives them a bit of an explainer, or is he
There's
not
one
done it
coming.
yet? Right. Okay.
I don't know if I wrote about it though. So the Savage Land is this randomly preserved part of Antarctica that no one knows about except the people that live there. That is basically just a prehistoric landscape.
I'm out.
You don't want it?
I like the Savage Land part.
It needs to be a different dimension for Magneto's
Dinosaurs?
power. No, dinosaurs. But Magneto's powers not to work, and Professor X to be able to walk and swim and run and throw spears.
Yeah,
I think there's a Mr. Sinister explanation for the powers.
Sinister or Mr. Sinister?
Nathaniel. But
look, I love Professor X and Magneto's relationship, and when we cut to these scenes, I really like it, but I don't understand Savage Land.
Yeah, and what I've said is pretty much it, as far as I know. It's just this random spot in Antarctica that's, I don't know if it's under the ice or...
I'm saying I don't understand it.
Is it real?
This
in
is
real life too?
there's cops shooting lasers. There's bloody.
It's the missing chapter from Bob Scott's whatever book on Antarctica. They cut it out like some of those gospel. What's
the
his name?
retirement home guy.
Yeah, Scott Bass.
Yeah, Scott Bass. They wrote it out of his autobiography, like they wrote out some of the books in the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a quote from Magneto because he makes up this plan to deal with the T-Rex, and Professor X is impressed, and he says, "I may not have my mutant powers, but I shall not die so easily." And then we're off to all of our European listeners. I apologise for my pronunciation. To Komudsky Valley. I think it might be all right. And it just says Komudsky Valley, former Soviet Union. And then we get a whole lot of tanks and army stuff. And someone's coming out of cryo. And then the tanks are attacking. I've got robots, question mark. And then everyone's talking about the living weapon, who's back to bring the Empire back. And it's a guy called Arkady Rossovich. And we meet Dark Star, question mark.
Is that the chick? I didn't know what her name was either.
Yeah. She's from Belarus.
All right.
Yeah, it's a little bit of research from me.
Yeah, nice research.
An obstetric.
Yep. Belarus. How dare you? And then
She ain't got that gold anymore. Anyway.
Her real name's Lania Petrovna. And then we get a whole lot of classic commie behavior. And someone talks about the living weapon again. And then we cut back to the mansion. And Jubilee's skateboarding. I assume we're supposed to think that that's what makes her cool.
She ain't cool.
No. And we get another reference to the living weapon. Oh, no, that was before, sorry. And then the Friends of Humanity are back, hating on mutant lovers. And then Colossus comes to the rescue. He's back.
Captain Planet. He looks heaps like Captain Planet when he changes into the metal, when he transforms.
He also grows a foot. And I don't know if that's a comic book thing or not, but he definitely gets bigger as he turns into Captain Planet.
He's got a mint flat top.
Yeah, he's got a real tidy flat top. He's on his way to the mansion for help. And I've just got a note here saying, Cyclops is in charge now. Good.
I don't like it.
Who's he going to sacrifice this time?
Not himself. That's
your
for sure.
mum.
And not Jean, that's for sure.
No, Jean wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. Not Jean.
Oh, you missed the scene with Jubilee on the skateboard as well.
I just talked
you
about it.
Listening, bro.
Oh, I missed it.
We talked about
my
it.
headphones cut out for a bit.
I'm sure they did.
They did.
I said,
amateur hour.
Jubilee skateboarding, is that supposed to make it cool? And then Sam said, she's not cool. And then you said nothing.
Exactly. Is that evidence that I was listening? I was
Can you not fall asleep while we podcast?
I'm trying not to. You guys get this done earlier.
Let's get through this episode because I want to talk about Repo Man.
Yeah, right. Omega Red's tearing up Colossus' hometown. Jubilee's like, well, I'll help you. And she's a terrible flyer, but, she's had all those hours in the simulator. And then we get back to Komudsky, and the town's in ruins. I just read a note, topical, Putin, say no more. Omega Red says, I don't think we've named him by name. Omega Red with the tentacles, the big cryo guy. The people instruct me. He's real left. He's a man of the people, even if the people don't like it.
He says quite a good line of, "This is not a country. It has no need for leaders. Which I thought was pretty bang on at the moment. Anyway. Sounds like something.
Don't
someone
isolate our extreme right wing / left wing listeners.
There's only two of them.
One of them, Sam's
One
brother.
of each.
We get Colossus referencing, or maybe we get to see Ilyana. It's his little blonde sister, who comic book wise is a big deal. But anyway, she's just
no
little,
powers at this point. Did you say?
No powers. I guess she's preteen. I
Pretty
don't
young.
know. Her comic. I'm going to tell Sam because I love it when he gets weirded out by comic book stuff. She gets captured by a demon as a 5-year-old and raised in a demonic place called. What's it called? Do you know what it's called, Pat?
It's
not Inferno, but it's to do with Inferno, eh?
Inferno's like a storyline.
Yeah. Anyway, she lives in this place that's pretty much hell and gets raised by a demon and then gets magical powers, but she also has mutant teleporting powers, and she comes back as an adult with horns, and it's just nuts. And then she gets turned back into a young child, and then she gets the legacy virus, which kills her, and that's really sad, but then she comes back because of hell and demons. And
it pretty much sounds like the writers, obviously there are numerous, weren't on the same page with her storyline.
I think it's just one of those things where someone did a great story with her, and then so someone else is like, let's bring her back.
Yeah. Limbo is the dimension.
Limbo, that's it.
Yeah.
One of the many versions of hell in the Marvel Universe. And we get a flashback of Colossus saving her from a tractor or something, which is directly from Giant Size X-Men 1. With Colossus' first introduction, that's nice. Jubilee's European costume is a massive improvement. Wolverine clearly knows.
Didn't see it.
Wolverine clearly knows Omega Red because he mentions it, and there's some sort of note in the mansion, and he's like, "Oh, Omega Red." Colossus goes on a rampage to save his family from some sort of prison camp. Omega Red turns up using his coils to hurt Ilyana. Wolverine to the rescue. Here's some fools thawed you out, so I'm here to put you back on ice.
Yeah, nice.
Colossus chucks a tank at Omega Red. Darkstar's having a few issues with Omega Red's techniques. We get a little shot of Captain America in a flashback. Nice. Reinforcements arrive. The X-Men arrive. Storm tells Jubilee off, which is fair enough.
She also loves telling us the power of the weather.
She's also wearing classic bandages, which heal all things in this universe. I note that the tanks are really vulnerable. They're just getting blown up by anything. Time to take Omega Red out. But Omega Red takes out Gambit, Jubilee, and Rogue, who he comments on Rogue being the strongest, which I thought was a nice touch. He mentions his carbonadium armor.
Yeah, I missed that. I was trying to pick up what he said his metal was.
Carbonadium.
So, you know much about that? You got a little backstory for us there? No? Nothing?
I think it's like an offshoot of adamantium.
Yeah, okay.
So, because vibranium and adamantium are linked as well, so I think it's all part of that special metals from space chat.
Great stuff.
Turns out Omega Red, despite being Russian through and through, is really susceptible to the cold. And they freeze him, and then Darkstar, and they capture him, and that's great. Darkstar turns on the generals, she's not happy with what's going on. Good on her. Got a note you're saying, X-Men good, communism bad. And I'm gutted. I really thought Colossus might join the X-Men, but he stays to help his family, and the X-Men go home. And they actually talked about that on that pod I was listening to earlier, where they talk about how all these guest characters are really cool and great nods, but they just didn't want to add any characters because they were obviously balancing so many. And by all accounts, they were all so popular, despite what you guys might think about some of them, that they didn't want to have to get rid of some to make room for others. And
Hey,
that's
give me more. Give me Omega Red over bloody One Eye.
You're gonna cross over. He's gonna become an X-Men. He'll lead us.
Well, some characters I'd much rather see than Cyclops. Speaking of which,
Shut up. Repo Man, let's do it. Fucking Alpha Flight. I'll tell you what I noticed when I watched this episode. In the opening credits, it says written by Len Wein. And Len Wein is the guy who created Wolverine in the comics.
great.
Oh,
So he wrote The Incredible Hulk, whatever number it is, where Wolverine makes his first appearance.
Yeah.
And he's one of the co-writers on Giant Size X-Men 1, where they make that new team with Wolverine and Storm and a few others. So that's pretty cool that they got an actual comic book writer to come and write an episode. Unfortunately, it's Alpha Flight. But anyway, so we meet...
You say unfortunately. I thought they were great.
Oh, this.
I don't know
awesome.
any of these characters very well at all, except for maybe North Star. But
yeah,
I
I know
thought
North
great.
Star. I know a few of them.
One of them's just a Sasquatch, but it can talk.
That's his name.
I hope you
It's
miss
his
me,
name, actually
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch. I didn't know that.
So we get Vindicator, who
never heard
comes.
of him.
Also, I've got this note saying Meg's crying Heather. Is that I don't know what happens at the start of this episode.
Oh, so
Anyway.
Heather. I don't know who Heather is at this point.
We don't meet Heather until later, but I've just written this note, Meg crying Heather, so I don't know what's going on. Is this after they must have he must have a fight with
they
her.
allude to it later on that she basically put a call out to get help from him or something, and that
Yeah.
I had to reverse it a couple of times, going, why is he even wandering around the woods before they capture him? So yeah, it seems like that was the case.
He's Meg. He does what he wants.
Yeah.
He smelt something.
So we
Except
meet
for what he should have, which is the trap. Yeah.
Vindicator, and they've come to take Wolverine back. Whatever that means. And we meet Puck, Sasquatch, Shaman, North Star, and Aurora, the twins, and a flying girl who turns into things. I didn't catch her name.
Is one of the twins the one that says "Mon ami"?
Yeah.
It's Gambit's bit.
Nah, they're real French Canadians.
So Shaman.
Shaman.
So obviously another American Indian.
Yes, Canadian Indian.
Native American, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, they're the Canadian mutant team. And we get our first flashback to Weapon X with Dr. Cornelius and the adamantium feed in his unbreakable bones. And then we get our first look into the claws, Muzz, which is, for a long time, when Wolverine first came out, the claws were part of his gloves. And then they changed it to the claws being part of what was added to him when they put the adamantium onto his bones, which is what they're going with here. But the truth of the matter is, according to 700 retcons, is that he always had claws. They were just bones before they became metal. But
yeah,
anyway.
it's unfortunate they don't do that, because I like that sort of flashback in movies and stuff where he's got the bone claws. They look pretty cool.
The bone claws are cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know this as a Meg stan.
You should.
Just like I didn't know his name was Logan until this episode.
Yeah, well, don't worry, because that gets retconned again later. Not in the series, but...
Don't they know his name's Meg?
And in the flashback, you get the big escape from Weapon X, which is exactly like the movies. Another steal from, I don't know, maybe it's from the comics, but another big steal. It's nice. Then we're back in the mansion, and Jean's doing some telepathy to try and find Professor, but instead she shows us Domino, Nightcrawler, Archangel, Psylocke, Cannibal, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver, which is cool. And then we're back to Wolvie, and the shaman finds him, and they're after the secret inside of him, whatever that is. And then he gets taken to the Weapon X facility. And the big twist, Heather's actually in charge. And we get more flashbacks of them saving him, looking after him. James and Heather, the
Heather!
Hudsons.
Heather, it was you that set me up. Why, lady?
You have been working on your Wolverine.
That's really
It's
good.
good.
He tees up a couple of those flashbacks he has pretty high, eh? Like they really lead into it. Like I think the next one is when he's like, I can't even remember what it was, but it was like, you taught me that, and then it does the wavy we're about to do a flashback. Like they always tee it up real high for a flashback. So you can just do the flashback. We get it.
Doesn't Heather say she'll help? They'll help Wolverine or they'll help Meg?
Yeah. So,
As her like helping Meg like to learn to read. Just like looking
yeah,
through
I was going to say,
whipping
I've
through
written
the
that down.
pages.
More
Is
flashbacks.
he into Heather as well? Did you get?
Yeah, he's
you get
into everyone.
Yeah, anyone that's like got a partner anyway.
Yeah, or ginger
He doesn't
hair.
want anyone that's single. You'd want someone that he has to fight for, and then lose that battle because he's 5'3".
Everyone's got a mate like that.
He's out there protecting wildlife, and he gets shot with a few tranq darts, and he breaks down, and Heather's helping him. Why did they do this to me? And then she's reading to him, as you said, and then he loves a flannel shirt, and they set him up with Department H, Alpha Flight, and he walks into a room for probably not even 3 seconds, and then walks out in his Wolverine costume. And I think there's something along with, they call him Weapon X, and he's like, don't call me that. Call me Wolverine. And then we get back to the current timeline, and someone else there, some sort of army guys called Jason, and I wonder if that was relevant, but I was too lazy to look it up. So, one of our fans will tell us in the comments when we release this, and we won't be able to address it for like 6 episodes because these are all pre-recorded anyway. And their thing is they want to know why Wolverine survived the Weapon X project. And
I survived because I'm a mutant, you dimwit.
Yeah, that was good. You've really been practicing.
Vindicators are shit, mate. And then there's heaps of growling. And then we're in the Savage Land. And we meet
I'm
a
still
mutate.
Confused by that storyline.
We meet a mutate or mutates in the Savage Land, and we find out they are Magneto's creations.
Yeah.
And one of what's his name? Sinister's nasties attacks Magneto and X with her shiny powers.
Mm.
And then it's back to Canada. Sam, for the record, a mutate is someone who wasn't born a mutant, but somehow through science gets mutant powers. So they're not a mutant, they're a mutate. Is that clear?
Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a mutate. I obviously wasn't paying much attention.
You were fizzing for the Canada scenes.
I was just like, get me back to Meg.
Yeah, and then they're running the test on Wolverine, which seems really weird because it seems like they're just lasering him. And then Jean feels his pain via Cerebro.
Thanks for the light, kid. I could use a good tan.
Jean goes, I feel Wolverine. I can't remember what she says, but somehow he's in great pain. I think Gambit goes, man's always been a pain since the get-go, yeah?
That's a great one.
And Sykes, not funny, Gambit.
Fucking one eye.
And they can't find him. And then it cuts back to Canada, and the doctor's like, resume the probe, which is the lazy thing. And then they work out, well, the only way they're going to have to do it is to remove the skeleton from his body, which doesn't make sense. So Heather quits. Puck's Canadian accent is incredible. I won't try to do a Canadian accent, but his very soft-spoken A's are like...
Is this Rolly Man?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know his name was Puck. I just called him Rolly Man.
Yeah, he's a human hockey puck, is what I came to believe.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
He's all dressed in black, and he does the little spinny things and knocks into people.
The
I
real
like it.
strong Canadian accents are an interesting twist too, because the show was recorded in Canada. Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah, it was. The voice actors, it's recorded in Canada. It's written in LA, but it's recorded in Canada.
Just checking up on a rumor, General.
And then security comes in, robots. Thank God we can decapitate them.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Um,
Every bad guy needs to have robot henchmen just so that there's going to be some more action.
so Wolverine can use his claws.
Yeah. Scratch them up
and
real
then
nice.
the fracas ends, and Wolverine leaves, and he ain't never coming back, and that's the end of the episode.
Should have let me go, Jimbo.
Any thoughts on Repo Man?
I was fizzing during and after that episode. And it actually all started when the opening credits started, and it was all like everything that's happened to Meg throughout the first season and what's happened so far. And I was like, this is going to be awesome.
Well, question for you then. How did you feel when X-Ternally Yours started and all of the previously ons were about Gambit?
Yeah, not the same feeling, but I was still like, I do enjoy a backstory, so I wasn't gutted about it. It just, I think I found these episodes particularly hard because they didn't flow. But the only thing that flowed was the
Savage Land.
Yeah, the Savage Land, and I was really confused by that. So it was kind of just like chopping between storylines for me.
Yeah, it's definitely slightly more one and done compared to the first season.
Yeah.
But it is, like you said, it is delving deeper, which is nice.
I think that's why I like the Savage Land parts, like attacked at the end, because so you're trying to figure out what's happening there.
Yeah, it's cool.
Still continuing on.
I found the previously on Gambit was real funny because there was a few shots of him using his powers, but it was mainly just the greatest hits of all of his one-liners. Right, let's get into X-Ternally Yours. More danger room opening scenes. Cyclops wants it's tougher. We talked about this a little bit before. This Gambit gets a surprise phone call on the X-Men phone as well, so God knows how they got that number. And then he accidentally pushes the lever to danger team level maximum. And Gambit goes, "Who is this? How you find me?" And Cyclops has to deal with Omega Red, Apocalypse, Sinister, and Juggernaut.
Some big sluggy thing that was real gross at the start.
Yeah,
That was.
monster thing.
Mm.
Kind of reminded me of Star Wars, actually.
Jabba.
Bit jabbery.
Oh yeah, there's that big monster in that asteroid that they fly into, and Empire Strikes Back. Anyway, Sam hates Star Wars because he's not cool.
I don't hate it. I just haven't watched it that often.
Well, unfortunately, only The Phantom Menace is in the 90s, so I want to watch that again. Now, this is pod racing.
It sounded like Puck.
Maybe Anakin's from Canada.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's
He
from
might be an alpha
Tatooine,
flight.
but... So Cyclops nearly dies in the danger room and Rogue saves him. And she's giving Gambit a bit of a serve, and he just goes, "I gotta go home, Cher. They're gonna waste my brother." And then we get a flashback to Remy and his brother. This stuff is confusing. The external. I've written here, the external. What the fuck is going on? Some magical tribute thing. Is it Tide or Tive? Assassins and Thieves Guilds.
No, I don't. It was Assassins, and I think I've got it here. It's Thieves, I think.
Yeah, Thieves.
Whatever Thieves are. Thieves.
Yeah,
and
the New
someone
Orleans
calling
accents
a few of them,
really make
Chief.
this. Yeah, the accents are tough on this one.
I think the backstory is extremely difficult to follow, but I do like the job they've done with the bayou setting. I think that looks good. The swamp.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
harks back to Gambit's quote of, "There's always more alligators in the bile."
Does Meg calls him Cajun a few more times
Oh yeah, a lot.
Does he do it? Does he do it in New Orleans as well? Probably be a bit more
And
dangerous.
he comes in because Sykes in the infirmary or whatever, and Wolverine's comes in. I see he got his licks in before he left, and then Rogue real defensive. Can it, wild boy? If you don't want a little of the same.
I've gone off Rogue's one-liners and I'm all on Meg's one-liners now.
Yeah, all right. I'll handle it.
I do whip Rogue.
So Gambit's in the New Orleans and he's looking for his brother Barbie. And then we get this backstory about the assassins versus the thieves for 300 years. Gambit thinks it's stupid. But I also think it's stupid to talk in the third person.
Yeah, well, it is. But this Guild of Assassins, Guild of Thieves, is that a comic book
Big time.
common thing? I've never heard of it.
Yeah. It's usually there's a little bit in X-Men, but there's a few like spasmodical Gambit minis that come out through the 90s because he's so popular, but they're not good reads. I've read them because I was a Gambit stan for quite a while and it's all a bit shit. It's just not that interesting to me. But anyway.
Yeah. And they are always just related to Gambit. They don't do anything else in the Marvel world.
The Thieves and Assassins guilds are all Gambit related exclusively, really.
Right.
The animation of Gambit's brother's beard, it's just like, I don't know if you noticed, it's just like 20 black lines on his face.
It's good, I guess. Where are we up to? Oh yeah, so Jean, Wolverine, and Rogue follow him, and I think it's Wolverine who says, "The Cajun don't trust nobody." I think Rogue's moaning about how they don't know anything about him and whatever, and then we find out that Gambit and Belladonna tried to bring the guilds together by getting married, and then Belladonna puts a magical ring to stop Gambit's powers and to kind of capture him or hurt him. I don't know, but it's not good for him. Magic ring, good thinking. And then I've noted that Rogue is really defensive whenever Meg sledges Gambit.
Jealous.
And then the X-Men turn up, they find the people, and they're like, we're looking for Gambit or whatever, and like, Remy came. He made the switch. You must be the X-Men. Belladonna's performed
more spell power stuff as well that helps them.
Oh yeah,
find their way. He's just sniffing everything out.
Surprised he didn't make a reference to Gumbo. And Belladonna's performed the old sneaky switcheroo on the Tide. I don't know if it's, I can't remember what it is exactly because they keep the pronunciation of whatever that thing is confusing me. You assassins got no honor. So they're at this thing, right? So what's going on here? Every 10 years, the External turns up, who is quite clearly voiced by Storm, and requires a tribute from each of the guilds, and then she gives one guild member from each more powers for some reason. And
the chosen one.
Yeah, and Belladonna's done the sneaky switcheroo, and the Tide, the gift, whatever it is a dud or whatever, and they find it out, and there's a big fight, and I just written up. Some of these guys look just like pretty normal, like clothes wise, like kind of Gambit-y, I guess. And then some are wearing the most ridiculous costumes you'd ever see.
Yeah.
It's really hard to work out what's going on. And the fight, and then Belladonna taunts Rogue about how he's hooked up with heaps of birds, and she's the only one he ever loved, and it's a bit nasty. And then the External
Meg tries to jump on someone's back as usual, and as usual, it doesn't work.
Yep. And then it's all going bad, and the External's about to cast out Remy's brother Bobby, and Jean uses some mental interfering to show the External what really happened, which wins the days. And Bobby's wants the External to kill all the assassins. Gambit says, "Bobby, shut up." And then says, "Take away her powers, but leave her alive," or whatever. But I was distracted because this is probably one of the greatest visuals of the series so far of Gambit's 8-pack.
Who's getting married?
Belladonna wants to marry Gambit.
Okay.
He's got some serious issues, that Belladonna in this.
Yeah, she's nuts, eh? But then again, like the way he goes about himself, he was always going to attract the crazies.
Yeah.
I don't care about which spirit ladies do what to which occasions. I'm here to stop a wedding. I whipped that.
Your Meg's really coming on.
Yeah, it's really good.
Practice makes perfect.
And then it ends. And then let's stay Gambit. I'm an X-Man, and I'm never coming back. I thought that was quite nice, cementing himself as a member of the team, because they've obviously got their questions about him. And then they get back to the X-Mansion, and I've just got a note here saying, Cyclops being a bitch.
Look, at that point, he's lying in the hospital bed. I just noticed that he obviously always wears glasses. Imagine marrying someone who always wears sunglasses. That would be so
married
bizarre.
to a stoner. Or Kanye.
Now, I whipped that Gambit moment because, we've had the Wolverine moment as well, where he's like, "Nah, the X-Men are my people." So now we've had that Gambit moment. I think we had that Rogue moment as well, actually, too.
We also sort of had it with Storm a bit as well, because she leaves her tribe, or whatever, that emotional connection for her there as well.
So Scott and Jean, One Eye and Jean, whenever you're ready, just jump on.
Leave the team.
Well, no,
you want their backstory?
Yeah, or have that. No, I don't want their backstory. I don't want any more of them. Have that moment where they're like, these are my people,
Well, don't worry, mate. Coming for One Eye. I think it's season 3.
All right, what are we covering next time, Sean?
Well, hold on. We get a little Savage Land moment, and we meet someone called Barbarous or something, and they talk more about the mutates. And he's grabbing Magneto, and you actually hear Magneto's back crack, which is quite tasty. And then it ends. It's a bit of another Savage Land cliffhanger. So next,
that was the guy with 4 arms, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I was disappointed.
They got away by breaking open a beehive on above him, and he's swinging at all the bees with all 4 arms. It was a great way to finish.
That was awesome.
I was gutted because there's an X-Men villain with 4 arms whose name is Forearm, and I was hoping it was him, but it's not.
I thought you were definitely going to make another tie into Mortal Kombat with 4-Arm Man.
Goro, Kintaro, and Shiva.
Sure.
So next episode we got 7. Jeez, that's a big ordeal. We're gonna have to.
That was a lot, man.
There is a lot of one and done episodes there, so we can run through them. We got Time Fugitives 1 and 2, A Rogue's Tale. You like that, Sam? I assume. I don't know, remember what it's about, but the name's good. Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, boy.
We've got one called MojoVision. I can't wait for you to find out about Mojo World. And then we've got
last time.
Yeah, and then we've got Reunion 1 and 2. So that's next episode 5. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but most of these episodes are pre-recorded, so we haven't been doing our due diligence, dear fans. So please like, subscribe, rate, give feedback,
review,
whatever. Yeah, reviews, whatever it takes.
We're not quite sure what it takes yet.
No, But if it takes listening to this podcast on silent just so it gets an extra view or play or whatever, we're okay with that, right? We are the alpha flight of podcasting. We need everything we can get.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So yeah, no final views necessary. I think we've covered off each episode nicely. So without further ado, I've lost my sign off. I've had a Sellers.
Sign us off, gents.
So what's the sign off? Leave it in.
Mission accomplished, buddy.
Mission accomplished, buddy.
Let's go home.
Oh, jeez.